Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Nameless Show. I'm your host, domentora, on this beautiful January 4th, 2016 morning. I actually have no idea if it is a beautiful morning, because I'm recording this the night before. So, I hope it is. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff right off the bat. In fact, sharing it, the best thing you can possibly do for me, for the show, for anybody on YouTube. Sharing is caring. That's what I would encourage you to do. Let's get right into it. With a little bit of vocab today. I think that's what I want to focus on today. I want to expand the collective vocabulary of a nation. The nation of the five that watch my channel. So today's word is going to be treason. It's a noun. That's important to know. It's a noun. Synonyms are treachery, disloyalty, betrayal, faithlessness. Plural noun is treasons. But what does it mean, David? What does it mean? Well, it means the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. For example, this is off of Google definitions. For example, they were convicted of treason. Doubt is the ultimate treason against faith, etc., 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 etc. Yay. Now we got that out of the way. We know what treason is. Treason is a betrayal. Treason is going against something to which you owe or have pledged loyalty to. And I think that most people in the United States of America would consider an act of armed rebellion against the federal government, including but not limited to invading federal lands and taking over a federal building, treason, right? Unless, of course, it was a foreign entity, right? Then it's invasion. And we can all agree on that. If country A decided that they wanted to come into our country and take over a federal building on our land, that would be an invasion of our country by a foreign power, correct? So by the same token, if somebody internally went onto federal property, invaded federal property, and proceeded to take over and take a federal building, that is treason. That is an armed insurgency. Insurgency. That's another word we should look up. Hold on. I think we should just keep this going. Like I said, today we're going to really focus on the vocab. We're going to really try hard to get this going. So let's type this in here. Insurgency, which is hard to type in while you're talking. Give me a second. Insurgency definition. All right. An insurgency, again, this is according to Wikipedia. An insurgency is a rebellion against authority. For example, an authority recognized as such by the United Nations. For the example, the authority that is the United States of America and the federal government of the United States of America. When those taking part in the rebellion are not recognized as belligerents. So let's figure out what belligerents means in this context. Let's find out. Hostile or aggressive. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's not the right word then, because I think an armed takeover of a federal building might be considered just a tiny bit aggressive. Now, David, Domentor, why are we focusing on this for the first show? Shouldn't you be doing some sort of intro, laying out the guidelines for the show, what your plan is? Yeah, probably, but I'm not. I'm focusing on this because clearly it needs a focus. Earlier today on my personal Facebook, I posted a link to a story from usuncut.com. It's not a 10 out of 10 reliable news source. But in this instance, the story was a good one. The title was a Response to Oregon Militia Standoff Reveals Stark Double Standards. I'll link it down in the description below. And what the article is talking about is the almost entire media blackout of the mainstream, the core media, ABC, CNN, Fox, even the Associated Press on what's going on, where even when they talk about it, they're talking about, protesters take over federal building or peaceful. I even saw a headline peaceful protesters take over federal building over land dispute. Peaceful, armed protesters trespass on federal property and lay claim to a federal building over land dispute. I think the peaceful part might not be so accurate. They haven't killed anyone yet, I guess. So they're peaceful until they commit murder. Is that kind of how we're looking at it here? But the double standard that we're focusing on is the intense way in which this is being ignored. While other instances of social unrest, Baltimore, Ferguson, are focused on with an intense level of scrutiny, including, might I add, the National Guard, which, as of me recording this, on Sunday night, January 3rd, the Packers-Vikings game just ended. Packer fans, I know you're sad, but trust me, you'd much rather play the Washington football team than the Vikings again. Trust me. As of right now, the National Guard has not been sent to deal with an armed invasion of our country by our citizens. That's what it is. It is an armed invasion. So far, nothing. Nobody cares. So I post on my personal Facebook a link to this article, just basically showing tweets and showing the reaction of people who are paying attention to the story and how they feel about it. Primarily, unfortunately, how they feel about the clear media bias, not the fact that, domestic terrorism? Can we call it terrorism until they've killed somebody? Or do we have to wait for them to kill somebody to call it terrorism? You know what? I guess we'll wait. I guess we'll wait until somebody dies to call them terrorists. For now, they're just a militia, an armed militia, invading federal grounds, committing treason, because, why, a land dispute? Okay. Alright, good. Good. Well, and a couple people on my personal page made some comments, and some of them were accurate, and some of them were not. And I'd like to read one real quick. I'll paraphrase. I don't want to just steal this guy's words. But he was talking about how a headline saying National Guard kills X amount of civilians in raid doesn't look good. Which is why they haven't been sent in yet. Which is right. But a headline saying National Guard tear gases protesters who have yet to commit crimes in Ferguson also didn't look pretty good when that was happening. Now later there were crimes and whatnot. I will never defend criminal activity. Clearly. Glad we could establish this on show 1. But I'm not sure the National Guard really cares about headlines unless, they have a separate team that's like, alright, well this is inside of a city. We're going to go take care of this. Oh, this is a compound way out there. Let's send in the Waco people. They seem to do a pretty good job. Might only take a few months, but they know what they're doing, right? And they win every time. A few people die, but in the end, we win. Maybe that's what's happening. But he goes on to say, well, neither does the headline about a man serving years in prison over the incidental burning of a quarter square mile of uninhabited land. Which, if that's what this is about, well, that sucks for you, bro. That sucks. You should sue the federal government. You'll probably win. I will say, without doing any extra research on that particular statement, I doubt burning accidentally or incidentally or on purpose or in any way a quarter of a square mile gets you years in prison. I find that hard to believe, but he goes on to say that guy's getting screwed by an oppressed government, and he took a stand for what he believes in. He hasn't hurt anyone. He just doesn't want to get his rights infringed on with trumped up charges. So his reaction is to, hold on, wait, because I'm worried that this is actually a thought process. Because these hardcore patriot assholes out there, pardon my language, And you know the ones I'm talking about, the ones on there, we've all got these Facebook friends, they share something, picture of our troops, if you can't stand behind them, you can always stand in front of them. First off, what? Are you serious? Wow. We're going back to, Manifest Destiny, America. All right. Glad I'm white. I'll live. But those assholes, they don't care about this. Now, I'll make the very safe assumption if it were a bunch of brown people, or Asian, if it were a bunch of anybody other than white people, I'm sorry, that was not as PC as it should have been, we're doing this, I bet they'd be a little more upset. But it's a white farmer, good red-blooded American, just standing up against an oppressive federal government by committing treason. Okay. So what? You're gonna stand up for me if I get a speeding ticket? And my protest is to go spray paint me some cop cars? That's cool, right? Yeah, I'm committing a crime, but you know what? I was only going 3 miles over the speed limit. It was an obvious speed trap. The speed limit dropped from 55 to 40 within a mile. How the hell am I supposed to do that? This is clearly a trumped up charge. So I'm going to go break the law and protest. Right? Oh wait, that's some of what happened in Ferguson and Baltimore. And you same patriot people, wow, where was this sentiment of you've been wronged by the government so you have a right to commit crimes at that point? It wasn't there. That's where it was. You don't have a right to commit crime. You don't have a right to loot, you don't have a right to riot, and you don't have a right to invade federal lands as an armed militia and take over a federal building. That is not within your right, and the National Guard should come in and take care of the problem. Now, I hope they don't take care of it the Waco way. We can all agree on that. But I sure as hell hope they take care of it. I want these guys to go to jail. I don't want a shootout. Nobody wants a shootout. Nobody wants anyone to die. But I want these guys to go to jail, to face the charges. Because you know what? Maybe you were upset about some trumped up charges. Well, now you got some real ones. Good job. You know what? It's like when I was 13 and my stepmom would ground me. And I didn't know why. I thought it was crap. All right. She'd say, David, you took too long to clean the garage. This is a hypothetical, by the way. I'm not calling out my stepmom. David, you took too long to clean the garage. You're grounded. You're grounded for the rest of the day. Go to your room. I'd say, well, I've only been working on that for 30 minutes. Screw this. You know what? Okay. Fuck you. Oh, now you're grounded for a week. Well, good. Now I did something to get grounded for, right? Is that what this is? Is that, or you made me go to prison for burning some land? Once again, I don't even know if that's the accurate thing. But I got in trouble for doing this thing that I don't feel I should have gotten in trouble for, so my reaction, as a red-blooded American, I'm sorry, that accent, by the way, completely coincidental, it just seemed fitting. As a red-blooded American, I'm going to go commit major federal crimes. Yeah, I'm going to commit some major federal crimes. Get me a life sentence, because you know what? I'll deserve it then. At least then I deserve it. Seriously? Okay. But, for the record here, his headline. Let's go back to this guy's headline. I'm not calling this guy out. I knew him in high school. He's a good guy. There's a reason I'm not saying his name. But he's giving me kind of this perspective that I was just waiting for someone to comment on why people don't care about this. So his headline, National Guard kills X amount of civilians in raid. I've taken some newspaper courses. As an editor, high school paper, copy editor. So this kind of thing was actually my shtick. We won some national awards. Actually, at least some state ones. I don't know. I kind of stopped paying attention. I was more concerned with getting the copyright. that's a different story for a different time. But I think the headline would be more accurate if it said, National Guard kills number of armed insurgents in raid. Would that not be the more accurate statement here? Would that not be the more accurate statement here? Now, I will say, apparently more research needs to be done. I'm going to directly read this most recent post that was just popped up while I was looking at the other guys. There's another guy I've known this guy since elementary school. Talking to the person I was just quoting, kind of. Blank. You might want to look into the fact that the two convicted aren't a part of this movement and are reporting to jail with no qualms. Hold on. Back up the train. Let's assume accuracy here. We assumed accuracy with the other guy earlier. Let's assume accuracy here. So the people who were, quote, unjustly in trouble aren't even part of this? It's just being done. What? No. Okay. No. First off, what? I really hope that's not true. For the sake of my ability to believe in people as a group not being just completely moronic, I'm just going to assume that's not true and that they are part of it. Just let me believe that. Let me hold on to that shred of just belief in humanity that people would not get together, form an armed militia, invade federal land, and take over a federal building, all in the name of what they feel are bogus charges against one or two people who themselves are like, no, we're reporting to jail. We fucked up. And apparently reports from the locals, by the way, on this fire was it was not in fact accidental. He did it to cover up some hunting he wasn't supposed to do on the land. Now, obviously, I have no way of confirming that at this moment, but that just makes it even funnier, to be honest, if it's true. Oh, these trumped up charges! I started a little mini fire, and you're gonna send me to jail for years? I mean, I only did it so I could hide the hunting I wasn't legally allowed to do as well. Oh shit! I guess I did fuck up. I'm gonna go ahead and go to jail. I don't have anything to do with these nutcases. Ooh, me. Can you, transfer me down to Florida or something? I don't want to be here anywhere near Oregon, because when this shit hits the fan, whoo, these guys are going to come to jail. Everyone's going to think I'm with them. We going to get killed. Shit. Hell no. That's actually, I got to be honest, that reaction is a pretty picture in my head. So the point is, with these vocab and this ranting, the point is, in Oregon, we have a serious problem that is being ignored, and it's not the first time in the last few years it happened. We'll look back on that ranching land dispute from a couple years ago. This is not the first time that the way of protest has been an armed standoff with federal agencies in the last couple years over something that over the person behind, or at least the name of the person with, how do I phrase that? In blankety blank's name, we're doing this, committed a crime, didn't like that they committed a crime, and instead of just dealing with the fact that they fucked up, decided, or had people decide on behalf of them, to go commit major crimes. Major crimes. And you know what? Okay, I'll give you an example. I went to the Wichita Mountains one time with my friends. And at one point, we accidentally crossed into Fort Sill. We weren't paying attention. Accidentally crossed into Fort Sill. It's a major, major base in Oklahoma. Now I stepped, we're too close. Back on the other side. My bad. Okay. And admittedly, under that circumstance, if they'd have caught me, would I have been in trouble? Probably not. And if I had been, would I be upset? Yeah, it was an accident. But would my reaction be to go take over the Tallgrass Prairie Reserve building if that's a federally held land? No! My reaction would be to fight it in court. Like a smart, not even smart, like a logic-minded human being. You don't protest with arms. You don't protest with invasion. You don't protest with a standoff with the government. And that's what I don't get. See, I adhere to that on everything. If you break the law, you face the fines. If you don't like the law, you fight to get it changed. If you feel like you were unjustly tried, then you just take care of it in court. I know not everyone has money, and that sucks, and our court systems are really messed up. That's a rant for a different time, but there's other options. Ferguson. Riots. No. Baltimore. Riots. No. And I've got a wave of white, red-blooded, good old boys, Southern American people who agree with me to the letter that those riots and going against police and federal law enforcement agencies and whatever else, that's not okay. You can't do that. Now, trespassing on federal land. Taking over a federal building. Once again, here's me. You can't do that. Where are my rednecks at? Where are my Republicans at? Where are my white people in general at? Come on, guys. We can't get upset when people go against the government in Baltimore and Ferguson, but not when people go against the government in Oregon, right? Oh, no, wait up. That reminds me the people in Baltimore and Oregon were mostly black and these guys are white. Is that the difference? Is that what I'm missing? Have I been doing white all wrong the last few years? Is that what we're supposed to do? Is just ignore the white people who commit the crimes? Am I the only one who, whenever I hear a major crime has been committed, really just, obviously I wish the crime didn't happen in the first place. Let me clarify, I'm never wishing for crime, but when there is a crime, I'll be honest, the back of my head, just a little bit back of the head, I really want it to be a white guy. Why? Well, two reasons, really. Because first off, anytime it's a minority, it turns into a race war. Where it's a bunch of white people just hating on every minority in the country based on the actions of one person. Which we as an entire country, regardless of race, are really good at doing. See Muslims. See us hating on Muslims, not see Muslims hating. You know what I mean. But if it's a white guy, then I'll be honest, it is just fascinating, like it is right now, to look at the Twitter and Facebook feeds of these so-called, loyal Americans who post the flags on their Facebooks and talk about how much they love this country, either not breathe a word about an armed insurrection against our country, or worse, post things supporting it. You can't have it both ways. You can't do that. I almost wish I could, I wish I was a billionaire and could buy plane tickets to just get everybody who supports this thing up there with them. That way, they're all gone. They're all in prison. They're all out of the light. The gene pool's clean for a little bit. We've cleaned out the gene pool. I'm not suggesting eugenics. I'm just saying mass jailing of people who commit crimes. Just because I flew them up there so they were part of the crime, not my fault. I just flew them up to Oregon, right? You know what? Maybe they will throw me in jail. That's fine. That's one good gene out and hundreds of thousands of bad genes out, right? I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. What I'm not cool with is the double standard of people who are either ignoring this story or support this militia, but who also rabidly attacked not just not just criminals with regards to Ferguson and Baltimore and other places, not just the people who were looting and rioting, but the peaceful protesters too. And that's something that just sticks me right up in there, is that headline. That headline that still just sticks to me. Peaceful government standoff with peaceful protesters occupying federal building over land dispute. Peaceful protesters. When you have invaded our country, regardless of whether or not you live in our country and are a citizen of our country, when you trespass on federal property, you're invading. That is the definition, invading. Let's look that sucker up. Hold on. You know what's going to happen? We're going to get a nice little pause here. Maybe I'll be able to time like a commercial break or something into it, and then everybody will be happy. You're going to watch the commercial all the way through without ad block, because you're a good person. And we're going to be all good here. So let's look up invade. Here, invade definition. Once again, according to Google, invade, it's a verb, it's an action, it's a thing that you are doing. Let's figure out some of the synonyms. Occupy, well, they're occupying a federal building. Look at that. If they're a synonym, then they're invading. I don't even need to read the definition now, right? Maybe not. Okay. Conquer, they're conquering a federal building. See, I think that has a pretty good ring to it. That has a good journalistic ring to it. Armed militia conquers federal building. You know what? You people supporting that militia, you need to kind of get up on that word. That's a good word for you to use. I'm going to cough. You have to pardon me. I woke up a little sick this morning. Capture, seize, take over, annex, win, gain, secure. These are the synonyms here. Overrun, swarm, overwhelm. But let's look at the actual definition. Of an armed force or its commander, this is an armed force, enter a country or region so that it is to subjugate or occupy it. Literally by definition, this group, this militia, invaded this area. This area which, again, is federal land and a federal building. These people, these citizens of the United States, not just from Oregon, but from all around the country, have come to, in support of this, have invaded our country. Guys, you remember the last time our sovereign soil was invaded? Benghazi, right? Fun fact, for anyone who may not know it, a embassy is sovereign soil of the country belongs to. I went to the Saudi Arabian embassy in Washington, D.C. during high school as part of a leadership program. Ironically enough, it was actually the National Youth Leadership Forum on National Security and Defense. How cool is that? It was a lot of fun. And I got to go to the Saudi Arabian embassy. Let me give you a little fun fact here. I've been to Saudi Arabia, right? I've never been to the Middle East as a geographic region. I've never been to Africa or the Arabian Peninsula as a geographic region. But I've been to Saudi Arabia because I've been to the Saudi Arabian embassy. The United States Embassy in the United Kingdom. Every square inch of land within those walls belongs to the United States of America, just like the United Kingdom's embassy here. Every square inch of ground within those walls belongs to the United Kingdom. And when you enter that armed and take it over, that is an invasion. And that is what's happening up in Oregon. It doesn't matter that they're protesting the government. It does not matter that they're citizens, and it shouldn't matter what race they are, although I think it seems to for some reason. The United States of America, as of right now, is being invaded. People, get your pitchforks. I live in Oklahoma. We got a shitload of guns. Let's get them. Why do we keep it? Well-organized militia. Oh, actually, that's kind of what they are up there, huh? Wow, man, common sense gun laws. Looking real good right now. Anyway, let's form another well-organized militia, or even better, just have responsible politicians who say, oh, you're invading our country. Let's kind of fix that, National Guard. Whoop. Let's all get together, right? Militia fighting militia. We're on the side of the U.S., you're on the side of disgruntled criminals who feel like they were unfairly criminalized and are demonstrating that by committing even more serious crimes, including treason and invasion. I don't understand, not just the thought process of them. I'm not even going to try to understand that. But the thought process of people who support them, or even worse, of people who support them but didn't support the riots in other places and anti-government sentiment in other places. I don't understand that. It's the same people who rail against that federal government and its overreach, but are anti any level of defense spending budget cuts. Right? We can't cut money. We got to just pump money into that military, but the federal government's overreaching. We may have to quell it one day, so they can't take our guns in case we ever have to fight for our rights against that military that we refuse to cut the budget of, even though it's the largest in the world in terms of budget, by leaps and bounds. You people are insane. Think with your heads here. They're committing felonies. They're committing crimes. These are criminals. This isn't a guy stole some Swisher Sweets and attacked a cop. This is a group of armed people invaded our country, have laid claim, are holding on to federal lands in, quote, protest. I'll be honest. One of these crimes bothers me a little bit more. And that's saying a lot. During the Mike Brown stuff, do I believe he deserved to die? No. Do I know, does anyone know for sure what the sequence of events there was? No. But, having worked in a gas station, I can tell you, when somebody comes in and steals stuff from you, especially if they force their way past you or you know it's happening, it's a little scary. It's a little scary. Now, the Ferguson thing it's a hard thing for me to deal with. Because Mike Brown was a criminal. He was. I know that's a hard thing to hear for a lot of people. But he was. Now, it doesn't change the fact that shots were fired after Mike Brown was running away. That doesn't change that. That's not excusable unless he turned around and charged Officer Wilson, and there's not enough proof to say definitively whether it was or it wasn't. By the way, that's the reason they didn't take it to trial. There wasn't enough proof to prove one way or another. They just decided there wasn't enough proof to go ahead with it. They didn't say he was innocent. They just said they couldn't advise spending the money on the trial because there just wasn't enough proof to prove him guilty either. Let's be clear on that. Mike Brown was a criminal. He was. I'm sorry. But he didn't deserve to die. And the black population of Ferguson has been, and every bit of evidence shows this, subjugated to racial profiling and racial targeting for years, decades. Maybe I'm not as sympathetic to Mike Brown as some people are, though I am. He shouldn't have been killed. If he was, I'll clarify that. If he charged back at Officer Wilson had every right. I'm sorry, but legally he had every right. However, if he was running away, there's about equal evidence saying each. So we can't be sure. I'm sorry, we can't be sure. If he was running away, there's no excuse for more shots being fired. There's just not. But I'm leaving my point here. The protests in Ferguson weren't just about Mike Brown. I think we all know that. The protests in Ferguson were about not only the citizens of Ferguson being fed up with this racist culture in their police force and this racial targeting that was court records and police records show was running rampant throughout the town, but also of the country as a whole, of racial profiling and racial targeting that happens within our law enforcement every day. And that is a fair thing to protest. Now, is it a fair thing to riot about? No. God, no. But it's definitely a fair thing to protest. And you know what? If you're not happy with charges brought against you for a crime you are perceived to have committed, you definitely have a right to protest. And I would encourage you to do it. Signs, picketing, get a group together, start a GoFundMe, boots to the ground, get your protest going, make yourself heard. But you don't have a right, you don't, to take over federal lands, take control of a federal building as an armed militia under any circumstances that are actually foreseeable or currently happening. You just don't. And anyone supporting this, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not sorry I'm saying that one. You're wrong. And anyone who was so quick to spew hate at protesters in Boston and Ferguson, not the rioters, but the protesters, the ones who were doing the right thing, and then is now jumping behind this bandwagon of an armed insurrection against the United States government and an invasion of our sovereign land, you're wrong. And you're a hypocrite. And I genuinely hope that you are very close to retirement. Because I don't want you in the workforce. I don't want you voting. I don't want you having a say over how this country is run if you have demonstrated an inability to think with your head. I think that's a great way to start. That's a great way to start, right? Man, went off on that a little bit. I'll be honest, I had a headache before I started recording this. I've got a bigger headache now. Significantly bigger headache now. And it seems there's not been further comment on that. That's good. That's good. I'm glad. I don't want to keep going with that subject. It's baffling. I encourage you to read more about it. I'll post a few links in the description of news sources that I can find, that even if I don't like their headline or at least reporting facts, that'll be in the description. Another thing, by the way, will be in the description. I want you to go watch this video. This is a fascinating video I found on, again, Facebook. Man, gotta get off that social media eventually. How can I? I'm trying to run a podcast now. I gotta get ideas. So far, we're 2 for 2 on ideas from Facebook. Because to be honest, I didn't know about the organ thing until Facebook. Nope. You know what? We're not talking about the organ thing anymore. We're talking about this. There's a link to a short story accompanied by a video, and this one I'll be posting at the very top of the description under all the, like, comment, subscribe, and all that crap. The link section of the description. This will be at the very top. This is fascinating video using charts and graphs to break down the death toll, civilian and military, of World War II. I encourage you to go check it out. If you have any interest in graphs, you'll love this. You'll love it. Any interest in video editing, I don't know how they did all this. I have no idea. Making a background and posting audio to it, that's kind of the extent of my knowledge at the moment. So this is just mind-boggling to me. So anyone who loves graphs, anyone who loves video editing, And anyone who's just slightly interested in world history will enjoy this. And I'll say it's non-biased. There are a couple points where it breaks down, that this many people died from this country, and then, they do a better job than I'm describing, but this many people died from this country, this many of those people were civilians, this many of those civilians were directly targeted by military, and they're honest about it. They're like, all right, here's a group of people the Japanese killed intentionally, here's a group of people of civilians that the Germans killed intentionally, here's the groups of people that the Americans killed intentionally that weren't combatants. I appreciate that. We gotta love that non-bias. I encourage you to go check it out. Hands down the best YouTube video that I've seen today, including this one. It's better than this one, and it's only 20 minutes. So far we're rolling at 40 minutes. Go watch the 20-minute one. 40 minutes, are you serious? Wow, you know what? Clapping, heads up, props, good job. Anyone who listened to me rant about that Oregon situation for 40 minutes deserves a gold star. And I'm very proud of you. And I thank you for listening to the first episode. I know we didn't get a lot of propers in. I know it was a little bit single-sided. The idea is to have 3, 4, maybe even 5 topics and just go at them. But this is a major one. And this is one I just got burning passionate about, as you could probably tell. And it decided to take up a significant amount of the time. So I think with that, we're going to go ahead and call it good with one update on the future of the show. I think for now, it seems like if I do this every day, that's going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours out of 5 days a week to do this. I do work full time. I do have another job, and I do have other commitments outside of my job that take up my time. I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to move this to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to put it on 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's still going to be at 9 a.m. Central Time. Whatever time it is, and you can do the math. I'll let you do the math. I believe in you. If you followed me and my ranting insanity this far, you can do some basic math to figure out when this is airing in your time zone. Speaking of times, it's 1:08 in the morning. It's Monday. It's Monday. I am recording this. Hold on. Let me look outside. On this beautiful but cold January 4th, 2016. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for subscribing, for liking, for sharing. That is the best thing you can possibly do. If you agree with me, share it out. Let me talk for you. I'll be happy to. As you can tell, I like talking. If you disagree with me, share it out again. Say, hey, watch this video. Listen to this podcast. This guy's a fool. Listen to this idiot go. Do it. Shares are the best thing that can happen on YouTube. Likes are nice. When somebody actually clicks on your video, they see that like-dislike ratio. That makes a difference. Favorites are nice too. It's mostly just encouragement for me. Comments, that's the second best part. Getting that comment section rolling and getting that dialogue between the audience and me, that's the highlight of every video. But the best thing that you could possibly do for me and for the show is to share it out, is to show it to your friends, is to share it on your Facebooks, on your Twitters, on all your other social media young people stuff, and get the word out. The bigger audience I can build, the more time I can justify dedicating to it, the more I can post, the longer I can make these if that's what you want, or the more frequent I can make them if that's what you want, and we can really build this thing into something great, because this is about me, and that this is something I always wanted to do, and I'm doing it, but I want to make it about us. I want to make it about me and you, the listener, and let's turn this into something that more people can enjoy, and we'll see where it goes from there. So thank you so much for watching. This has been The Nameless Show. I'm your host, domentora. I hope you have a fantastic day. If you don't, leave a comment and tell me the best thing that did happen to you today. And maybe thinking about that one good thing will give you a little bit of positive perspective and help you get through help you get through the next day. So we'll see you on Monday. It is Monday. It is literally Monday right Now, we'll see you on Wednesday, January 6th. This has been your show, everybody. Have a great day.